Hi, everyone, and welcome to Rescripted Podcast, where we could celebrate the great things in life, share about the not so great parts, and find out how we can rewrite those challenges, turn them into insightful moments that will lead us to change, to growth, to happiness, and empowerment, all so that we can live the life we truly want to experience. I am your host and personal development coach, Amy Quiles, and I help high achievers overcome internal constraint. And that is those invisible barriers inside that are self doubt, self sabotage, and imposter syndrome that keep you from your dream life. I want to help you overcome those so you can actually live a life that's meant to lead you to your legacy and of impact. And in today's episode, we are going to be discussing how when you start to trust you, that's when everything starts to change. I was watching the movie Barbie today, and it just had such a great message that I think a lot of us could really resonate with. So, have you ever gotten to a point in life where you felt like what is going on? My life just flipped upside down. I either lost everything, everything is changing, or I just feel like, how did I get here? I'm a good person. I show up to everything in life. How did everything start to crumble? I know you have, because we all have at some point in life, but I want you to understand what that could be. So let me get into it just a little bit. Just so that you can understand that you are not alone in this, I will share my personal story of when I felt like my whole world flipped upside down and what that ended up being and how that was actually a great blessing. I'll share my personal story as to how and what I did when I felt this way. So, a few years ago, I felt like my life just flipped upside down and I had no idea what happened. Very similar to the Barbie movie. One day, everything was great. The next day, I didn't know if I was living in my real life, if it was a nightmare, if this was all a dream. How did it all change so fast? Nonetheless, it was real life, it was reality, and I had to deal with it. So, I can't really pinpoint when it happened or how it happened. I just know that something happened to where I had to pick up all the pieces again. And I had a choice to make. I can either reach out to someone and ask for advice, or for the first time in my life, I had to take the reins of my own life, of my own decisions. And I had to figure it out on my own. And I had this little voice within. And as a Christian, if you're a Christian, you know that little voice is our God that said, you got this. You got to learn how to trust yourself. You have good decision making skills. Let's go ahead and see what we can do with those decision skills. So I went ahead and I started to listen to that little voice internally. And of course, it was scary, right? Because as kids, we're so conditioned to listen to our respected adults in our lives, leaders that are our guides. So whether it's school, whether it's work, whether it's our family or anything like that, you're at a young age, you're conditioned to listen to somebody else who's in control. And if you've had a great upbringing and you've had a lot of care and protection, then you've always trusted that. You always felt safeguarded by that. And you never had to truly develop those skill sets on your own. So, although it is a blessing at the moment, as we grow older, there actually become hindrances because instead of building your own life and making your own decisions and figuring out what it is and how you want to impact in the world, you end up living a life that's led by someone else. It's somebody else's decisions, it's somebody else's choices, and it could potentially be somebody else's dream life, but maybe not yours. And maybe you've been content in it, maybe you've settled for it, but it's not the life that you thought you'd live. And it's time for you to either build it or figure out what's missing, right? And very similar to the Barbie movie, life will have you go on a journey to figure this out. I love to say you have a little prayer, all the answers are revealed to you, and then you can move on your merry way. But honestly, that's not the truth. And God intended it that way because you don't really get the impact of things when you just get all that information at once. I know we all love getting answers and getting it right now. We love that microwave era. We love things from 0 to 100. But when you get really close to God, He doesn't operate that way because you can't consume all the goodness that He has for you when you're moving so fast. He wants you to stop. He wants you to slow down. He wants you to address things layer by layer, almost smelling the roses, if you will. Because once you learn something, you really learn the meaning of it. You really understand how it's impacted you, what makes it profound. Because at that point, it just turns into a new way of life for you. You don't have to force yourself to remember how to act different. Just the impact of God, His revelations to you will help you act different, and therefore you start to see yourself propel quicker and faster, and you'll learn and you'll retain things quicker if you just take a little bit of time to slow down and enjoy the journey that God takes you on. So when I decided to listen to that voice and make the decisions on my own, the very first thing I had to do was do some internal reflection. I had to see, what was I really about? What mattered to me? What did I care about? What did I value? What did I want my life to look like? And then I could see, where did I, make the mark, and where did I miss the mark? Where did I have to start? So it was almost like you have to start auditing like what you're doing, auditing how you're operating and how you developed in life, so that you can see where the gaps are in between, where are the missing puzzle pieces to your story. And for me, I really had to go and dive in and see, what was it that I valued? What did I want to invest in? How did I want to contribute? But before I could pour into anyone, I had to figure out what it was that I stood for myself. So before I can think about going and rebuilding my life, I had to figure out, what life did I want to live to begin with? And I have to tell you, that was the best thing I could have done at the moment, because I was just so shocked and so emotionally raw that it was beautiful for me to go down those exercises, because I was able to see I didn't lose it all. I wasn't totally lost. There was just a few intricate pieces that were missing, intricate nonetheless, but everything wasn't lost. It just had to start paying attention to the things that really mattered to me. First, discover what they were. Second, pay attention to them and start to develop them. So that really became such a beautiful journey, because it gave me hope. It made me realize, okay, we can do this, because we're not so far off. We just had some blind spots, and we can work with that, right? And something that was beautiful was I was able to start creating boundaries. And boundaries is always almost like in the context of what you have to take out or who you have to put boundaries with. But the most beautiful thing is, you learn to put boundaries within yourself. What you will accept from yourself, what you won't accept for yourself, how you will show up for yourself, and what life meant for you, because only you can give it to you first. And then everything else will mirror it, right? But first and foremost, you had to figure out what it was that you wanted. And that wasn't something I focused on before. I followed somebody else, whether it was my significant other at the time, whether it was my family at the time, wherever I was on my journey. I was just of support in the life, in the community, in the family that I was in. But I really wasn't carving out my own voice. And that's what I was able to discover in this. There was a lot that was already developed because of culture, but there was no uniqueness of me. There wasn't my voice in my life. And that was a problem. And that became my new project, was to put my voice in my life. So you see how valuable you are to your own life. Sometimes we can, whether it's our responsibilities or because we don't know really what we want to do with our lives, sometimes we'll be left last on the list. If you're a mom, you tend to do this a lot, but I'm sure anyone at any given time has put themselves last when it comes to their responsibilities, right? We know a lot of men that have done that too. But when you do that, you get to see that there's going to be voids in your life, because you are avoiding addressing them. Sometimes unbeknownst to you, right? Because you're just so overwhelmed with different responsibilities that you think that it's okay to put yourself on the back burner, but it's really not. It's really not. And it's not a selfish thing, because at the end of the day, you are meant to contribute in a beautiful way, in a unique way, in your own way. So when you're not able to tap into that, then you're not able to serve in your great, unique way. The contributions that only you can provide will be missing, because you haven't developed those yet. So although we want to take care of all of our responsibilities, we are really responsible for our unique contributions as well. So that was something that I was able to learn in this journey. No matter how busy life gets, you have a duty to your contribution. And duty number one is to figure out what that is. So that was such a beautiful lesson, because in this journey, in the exercise, and I'll share with you a little later, those were the elements that helped me really understand what I was good at, really understand what I like to do, not just what I was good at, but what I really enjoy doing. Because there's a difference in being good at something, and then there's a difference in really enjoying something. You're really going to apply yourself when you enjoy what you do, but you're just going to get the job done if you're just doing it because you're good at it, but you don't really love it. A lot of times it won't spark more creativity. You won't get that spark of like innovation or ingenuity. You're just going to feel like it's mundane, and nobody wants to feel that, because at the end of the day, we always are growing and evolving. We're meant to. So if there's any areas in life where you feel like you're stagnant, it's going to feel uncomfortable, and it should, because you're not meant to stay the same. You're meant to evolve, to grow, to contribute, to add value, because you are valuable. So we owe it to ourselves to work through those things. If we stay in doubt, we're sabotaging ourselves by default, because you don't know all the beautiful things that you bestow within you. And if you're sabotaging yourself and you're still moving forward and you feel incomplete, then you kind of feel like an imposter, because you know you're not being your authentic self. And those things start to trickle into different other insecurities and doubts and fears. And sometimes it just pushes you so far from what you're supposed to do that you just give up altogether, and you allow somebody else to dictate the actions of your life. And I don't want that for you. And I know you don't want that for you, because there's something beautiful within you. There's purpose, there's so much value, and there's a legacy in you. So it's worth you tapping into it. I promise you. We settle a lot not realizing it, but you have a legacy within you that you have to release, you have to evolve, you have to develop, because it's going to feel so good when you start contributing in that manner. We all have a purpose, and sometimes we just get busy with responsibilities. But I promise you, if you focus on what you're supposed to do, which is your purpose, which is your calling, whatever you want to call it, life is going to be so beautiful that you're going to wake up excited to live your life, instead of wondering what you have to do today, or be a little upset that you have to do some of the things you have to do. Now, I know life isn't always going to be comfortable. It's not always sunshine. There are challenges, but it's beautiful to know that the challenges aren't meant to break you. They're meant to evolve you. They're meant to enhance you. And sometimes those are the exercises we need. Sometimes we go to the gym and we're okay with dealing with those struggles and those challenges and those pains, those growing pains. But life itself will also give you those growing pains. And as long as you show up and you're committed, those are going to turn into beautiful, fruitful opportunities for you to develop into the person you're meant to be. And just like the end of the movie Barbie, it's when she decided to figure out what she needed to do to make her feel great and authentic. It's time for you to go on that journey too, because nobody could do it for you but you. But I promise you, it's a beautiful journey. It may not always be easy, because there are growing pains, but it's definitely worth it, because you are a beautiful individual who the world, your community, is waiting for your contribution. So I replicated to the best of my ability the journey that I went with God, and I created a mini course which is called Values, Boundaries, and Lifestyle. And it walks you through how to see where you are developed, where you're underdeveloped, what you need to do, how to get there, and really give you like a overview of where you stand, what you've developed, and what's missing. And it allows you to see the same thing. You're not so far. There's just a few missing pieces. And it's such a beautiful journey, because you start to introduce yourself to you, whether it's through how you've been conducting yourself, are you in alignment, or how you haven't been conducting yourself and how you want to reinvent yourself to be more authentic and true to you. Through this mini course, you're going to see where the gaps in your life are and how big are they, how small they are, how big they are. A lot of times they're not going to be as big as we think they are, which that's a beautiful blessing. But all in all, you'll be able to start making decisions on your behalf for you that best suit you, so that when you do have to show up in life, you're showing up in a way that's authentic to you, not on somebody else's terms. And I know it could be scary. It's very scary changing the whole formula of how you've operated. But honestly and truly, a lot of the things that hinder us is just fear. It's not even that we're not able. Sometimes it's not even that we're unable to, it's just we're not aware of what it is that we have to do. There's those voids. Those are there's those empty pockets in life where we just don't know what needs to be done. Well, this is going to give you that roadmap, that guidance to see those things. What are the next steps and how aligned you are? Because you have to give yourself the opportunity to create your own roadmap. That's where your journey begins. That's where your true, authentic journey begins so that you can live your legacy out. Because your purpose is not just for you. It's not. And that's the beautiful thing, that whatever you do, you want to ripple through time beyond your years, right? Whether you want to be the next Steve Jobs, whether you want to be the next person that invents something, creates something, whatever it is, but your life is meant to have meaning. But you'll have the impact that you're looking for, the legacy impact, once you start trusting yourself, betting on yourself, and really carving those steps out. So, if you're ready to change and if you're ready to see what that is and you're ready to go on the journey to start building your legacy, it first starts with you. So if you're interested, then I invite you to go through my course, Values, Boundaries, and Lifestyle, because it's really going to give you the broad view of what it is that means most to you, what matters to you, and how aligned you actively are. Now, a disclaimer: Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will your legacy be. But I do love and value time. I appreciate time. So everything I do is to be clear and concise. I really want you to be able to execute these things in a day's time. So whether it's half a day, in a day, but by the end of the day, I want you to have a clear understanding of what you're doing, what you're working with, and where you're going. So any product that you ever purchase from me, you can always bet on that. I'm going to make it clear and concise, jam-packed with value, but I do want them to be actionable. I do want them to be easy and digestible. But most of all, I want you to get traction. So I'll always make it to where you're able to go through it in a day's time. So you don't have to wait weeks. You don't have to wait months to find these things. I've simplified it. I boiled it down to its simplest form so that you can execute it as efficiently, as effectively, and as fast as you desire to. I believe in you and I want you to win. And trust me, I know what it feels like. Personal development is something that's so important to me because it is what gave me my purpose. It is what gave me alignment. It is what showed me what my legacy is supposed to be. And it's what saved me in my hardest times. I knew I had something to work on. I knew I had value. I knew I had significant value. I just needed to fine tune what that was. So instead of looking externally for answers, I needed to start looking internally to see what it was, who I was, and what I was supposed to do and how I was supposed to contribute. And can I tell you, that in and of itself is such a beautiful feeling because it feels great to be purposeful. It feels great to know that what you're doing doesn't only help you, but it impacts others. Because at the end of the day, life is supposed to be beautiful. It's meant to be beautiful. And we get to distinguish what that means to us and how beautiful we want to live it. Some of us love a streamlined lifestyle, others love a beautiful, chaotic life. Whatever that is, whatever makes your life worth living for you, then you get to build it your way, right? It's not one size fits all, but I want you to be authentic to you so that you can enjoy it. So every day that you wake up, it's a beautiful day that you get to enjoy. If you want to have a little bit more of a deep dive on this and you want to have a personal call with me, there will be a link so that you can book a call with me. But if you know that you're ready to build the roadmap for your life, especially now it's a new year, right? So let's not stand in our own way. The products will be listed down below and you'll be able to start as soon as today and get your roadmap so that you can start carving out your legacy. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And if you enjoyed this episode and feel like it was insightful, then I ask you to please rate it, like it, and subscribe. And share it with someone you feel will enjoy it. I'll be back here next week and we will continue to discuss matters regarding personal development. Take care, guys. Have a blessed week, and I'll see you next time.